Sometimes coincidences are so crazy, they shake us to the core. Some say they're signs from God and others call them pure chance. Today we're talking about some truly unbelievable coincidences. And the last story? It will absolutely blow your mind. The amazing story of separated twin brothers. This event dates back to 1940. Twin brothers Jim Lewis and Jim Springer were separated at birth and raised by different families. Coincidentally, both families named their sons James. Later in life, both twins studied law, were skilled in mechanical drawing and woodworking, and even married women named Linda. Each had a son, and astonishingly, they both named their sons James Allen. Later, both divorced their wives and remarried. Both new wives were named Betty. Despite living separately, they each named their pet dog Toy, smoked heavily, and drove similar cars, Chevrolets. On February 9, 1980, the Jim twins met for the first time. Their uncanny similarities made headlines, and scientists even studied their brains, discovering that their thought patterns were nearly identical. They were, after all, identical twins. The bullet that took revenge after 20 years. In 1883, in Texas, USA, a man named Henry Zieglin broke up with his girlfriend, who tragically committed suicide. Her brother, enraged, shot Zieglin and then took his own life, believing he had avenged his sister. However, Zieglin survived. The bullet only grazed his face and got lodged in a tree nearby. Years later, Zieglin decided to cut down that tree. Since it was too large, he used dynamite to destroy it. The explosion dislodged the old bullet, which struck Zieglin in the head, killing him instantly. A bullet that missed its target took revenge 20 years later. The tragic coincidence of twin brothers and a taxi. In 1975, in Hamilton, Bermuda, a 17-year-old boy was riding his moped when he was struck and killed by a taxi. 1 year later, his twin brother died the exact same way, while riding the same moped on the same street, hit by the same taxi, driven by the same driver, and even carrying the same passenger. Unbelievable but true. Enzo Ferrari and Mesut Özil, Reincarnation. Enzo Ferrari, founder of the Ferrari car company, died in 1988. Just a month later, Mesut Özil, the famous football star, was born. The two men look eerily alike. Could this be proof of reincarnation? Lincoln and Kennedy, the unbelievable presidential parallels. Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy were two of the most iconic U.S. presidents, and the coincidences between them are shocking. Both were assassinated by a gunshot to the head. Both were shot on a Friday. Lincoln was shot in Ford's theater, while Kennedy was shot in a Ford Lincoln limousine. Lincoln had a secretary named Kennedy who advised him not to go to the theater. Kennedy had a secretary named Lincoln who warned him not to go to Dallas. Both assassins, John Wilkes Booth and Lee Harvey Oswald, were killed before trial. Both presidents have 7 letters in their last names. Both assassins' full names contain 15 letters. These similarities are so bizarre that they have been featured in multiple documentaries and TV shows. Father and son die the same way at the same place, Hoover Dam. On December 20th, 1921, John Gregory Tierney died while surveying for the construction of the Hoover Dam. Exactly 14 years later, on December 20th, 1935, his son, Patrick William Tierney, died at the same location when one of the dam's towers collapsed during construction. A father and son both lost their lives at the same site on the same date. The luckiest woman in the world. Violet Constance Jessop was an Irish-Argentinian stewardess and nurse who survived not 1, not 2, but 3 of the most infamous ship disasters of the early 20th century. 1. RMS Titanic, 1912. 2. HMHS Britannic, 1916. 3rd RMS Olympic, another major incident. She was on board all 3 ships during their respective disasters and miraculously survived every single one. The man who survived 2 atomic bombs, Tsutomu Yamaguchi, imagine surviving one atomic bomb. Now imagine surviving two, and both dropped just days apart. Tsutomu Yamaguchi, a Japanese engineer from Nagasaki, was in Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, for a business trip when the first atomic bomb was dropped. He was severely burned but survived. Traumatized and injured, he returned to his hometown Nagasaki just 3 days later, only to face the second atomic bomb on August 9, 1945. Miraculously, he survived again. Doctors said his survival was beyond scientific explanation. Later, he became a peace activist and lived until 93 years of age, dying in 2010. The man who cheated death 7 times, then won the lottery. In a quiet corner of Croatia lived a man whose life sounded like a wild movie script. His name? Frane Selak. People called him the world's luckiest unlucky man. First escape. Train crash. 1962. Frane was on a train passing through snow-covered mountains when suddenly it derailed and plunged into an icy river. 17 passengers died on the spot, but Frane somehow swam out of the freezing water. A few injuries, but alive. Second escape. Plane explosion, 1963. Just a year later, Frane flew on an airplane for the first time. Mid-air, the plane door blew open and he was sucked out. He landed on a soft haystack and survived. The crash killed 19 people, but Frane made it again. Third escape. Bus crash, 1966. He was on a bus that skidded into a river. Several passengers drowned, but Frane, who could swim, made it out safely. Fourth and fifth escapes. Car explosions, 1970 and 1973. In 2 separate incidents, Frane's cars caught fire. Once the engine blew up, another time the fuel tank exploded. In both cases, he jumped out just in time, though once his hair was completely singed off. Still, he survived. Sixth escape. Hit by a bus, 1995. While walking down a quiet street in Zagreb, Frane was hit by a moving bus. Everyone thought that was the end. But no, he stood up and walked away. And seventh escape. Cliff fall, 1996. Frane was driving on a mountain road when his car crashed through a guardrail and plummeted 300 feet into a canyon, but Frane had jumped out moments before the fall. Once again, he walked away. Bonus twist. Lottery win, 2003. After all these brushes with death, Frane bought a lottery ticket and won over $1 million. I realize death doesn't want me, he told reporters. Maybe life still has plans for me. In the end, Frane didn't live lavishly. He donated most of his lottery winnings, lived simply, and passed away peacefully in 2016, not by accident, but by age. If you enjoyed these incredible stories and want more fascinating content, make sure to subscribe to our channel Cognos Chronicles, and don't forget to hit the bell icon